Yarnovers are a common thing that we do in our knitting. They're easy to do. The only thing you need to keep in mind is the stitches that are before and after the yarn over. It changes what you do with the actual yarn. Hi, welcome to Sherry Knits. I love knitting and I want you to love it too. Let's take a look at what you do if you knit yarn over knit, purl yarn over knit, all the different combinations. Let's get started. Today we're going to take a look at yarnovers and how to do them. A yarnover is a very simple thing to do. You basically are just wrapping the yarn around the needle without entering a stitch. So you're going to wrap it the same direction you would, counterclockwise, to create that yarnover and then continue on. But there's different ways to do a yarnover. You sometimes go from a knit stitch to a knit stitch, sometimes a knit to a purl stitch, sometimes purl to knit, and you need to know a little bit more if you're going to be doing that. So let's look at the very simplest way to do it, knit to knit, and that would be just wrapping the yarn around and going into that next stitch. Easy peasy. Now, what you do need to keep in mind, when you see that instruction for yarnover, which is often abbreviated YO, the yarnover is just that piece of yarn that you've wrapped. It's not attached to a stitch. So if your pattern says knit, yarn over knit, you do the simple yarn over and knit. That yarn over isn't attached or included with a knit stitch. And now I'm going to do knit to purl. So this stitch was knit and I'm going to purl this stitch. So to do a yarn over for a knit to a purl, I do that simple wraparound, but then the trick is you need to wrap again and bring the yarn to the front for the purl. Otherwise, you won't have the yarn over there. So let's look at that again. So you do your yarn over, and then you bring the yarn to the front for a purl and work that stitch. So there we have our knit, yarn over, purl. Now we're going to go purl to purl. So again, it's pretty easy because I just purled that stitch. So I would do my yarn over and purl, and I've created that yarn over. The last one, and probably the easiest one actually, is purl to knit. Because with a purl to knit, you don't need to do anything. You just knit the next stitch. And when you go into that stitch, because you need to go through the back, it wraps around and comes through. And it creates the yarn over without you really having to do anything. So those are the 4 different ways to yarn over: knit to knit, knit to purl, purl to purl, purl to knit. Really easy to do. And bottom line, when you've done your yarn over as you're working across, just take a peek and make sure you've created that hole that the yarn over is supposed to make. Otherwise, you need to think about doing one of these little tricks to create that hole if it doesn't appear. Okay, I hope you enjoy this and it doesn't confuse you. You're the boss of your knitting. You can do this. You are the boss of yarnovers. I hope that was helpful to you and that you get a chance to practice that technique. Sorry for some of the background noise. We were at a campsite that was really, really quiet, and then all of a sudden there was activity. So sorry about that. And if you want to try yarnovers, I have a new pattern on Ravelry called Among the Trees that was inspired by our recent travels through Western Washington. Click on the link below for Ravelry. Check out my pattern, including Among the Trees, and you'll have a chance to practice some yarnovers. See you next time.